You know, when you think about the Apostle Paul and his missionary journeys, what comes to mind? It's probably him breaking new ground, right? Planting churches in new cities, facing all this dramatic opposition. But what about the work that comes after the initial breakthrough? Today, we're diving into Paul's third missionary journey, and it's a mission that's less about pioneering and way more about something equally vital: strengthening. It's a common way to think about it, isn't it? That the main goal, the finish line of the Great Commission is that moment of conversion. We celebrate that initial decision, the new believer. But is that really where the story ends? Paul's own action suggests that there's a crucial second half to the mission that, honestly, we often overlook.
And this is the heart of what we're looking at. It's the quiet, methodical, and deeply pastoral work of follow-up. It's about turning that initial burst of enthusiasm into a resilient, long-term faith. This is the story of consolidating the gains and making sure the foundations are strong enough to actually last.
This one verse right here, it's so understated you could almost miss it. But this is the key to the whole story. It might just look like a simple travel update, but it's really the official mission statement for Paul's third journey. And just one word in there defines the entire purpose of his trip: strengthening. So why was this journey of strengthening so absolutely necessary? Let's take a look at the challenge Paul was actually facing. See, planting a church is one thing. Making sure it survives and thrives, well, that's a whole other challenge. The reality is, new believers and brand new churches are incredibly vulnerable. They're getting hit with opposition from the outside, and just as dangerous, confusion from false teachings on the inside. Paul knew, he absolutely knew, that without deep roots, this new faith could just get torn right out of the ground. His mission was to make sure these believers were ready for the storms he knew were coming. And this brings us to the journey itself. Look, this wasn't some kind of sightseeing tour, not at all. It was a strategic, pastoral mission, and it was designed specifically to fortify the churches he'd already planted on his earlier trips. The Greek word Luke uses here is episterizone, and that's a really powerful term. It doesn't just mean a quick, "Hey, how you doing?" It means to make something stable, to buttress it, to fortify it like a wall. Paul was on a construction project, really, building up believers through teaching, encouragement, and some seriously deep discipleship. And Paul's plan for this was just incredibly methodical. He doesn't just jump into it. First, he rests and plans from his home base in Antioch. Then he systematically moves from place to place, first hitting Galatia, then Phrygia, all with that one singular goal: strengthening all the disciples. This was a deliberate, exhaustive effort to care for the people he had personally led to faith. And this journey connects directly to the rest of the New Testament. This wasn't just a friendly pastoral visit. It was strategic. I mean, think about it. When Paul wrote his fiery letter to the Galatians, warning them about false teachers, he wasn't just some guy writing from a distance. He was on the ground, visiting them in person to reinforce the true gospel. His presence totally backed up his words. So what does all this mean for the Great Commission itself? Well, Paul's model gives us a much more complete picture. It shows us that the mission isn't just a single action, but a process with two essential, totally balanced parts. This really lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? The two halves of the same mission. On one side, you've got the pioneering evangelism, that initial thrill of making converts that we love to celebrate. But Paul shows us that the other side is just as vital: the deep discipleship, the patient follow-up care of strengthening believers. You see, one without the other is just, well, it's incomplete. Okay, so what does this ancient journey mean for you and me today? It turns out Paul's methodical approach gives us a timeless and really practical blueprint for how we can care for and mentor other people. This blueprint is so good. First, rest strategically. Use your home bases to recharge so you don't burn out. Second, be intentional. Know who you're pouring into. Third, strengthen them holistically, not just with a pat on the back, but with teaching and even warnings when needed. Be thorough. Go place to place in your own life. And finally, always remember to balance that exciting pioneering work with the absolutely essential work of consolidating.
And this brings us to our final, and maybe the most important thought. Paul's journey isn't just some ancient story, it's a model for us. Because the mission of strengthening doesn't just belong to apostles, it belongs to all of us. So the real question is, who in your world, in your community, maybe even in your family, needs that intentional visit, that quiet work of strengthening today?